Welcome again, everyone. We have gathered for an informative session on artificial intelligence in architecture by architect Monish Siripurapu from Ant Design Studio. Architect Monish Siripurapu is the founder of Ant Studio, a multidisciplinary design practice at the intersection of art, nature, and technology. An alumnus of SPA Delhi and IIAC Spain, Monish Sir has a keen interest in computational technology, robotic fabrication, and biomimicry. He is also the founder of Coolant, an innovation think tank exploring sustainable cooling solutions for all. Coolant has won UNEP's Asia Pacific Low Carbon Footprint Challenge and WDCD's Clean Energy Challenge, among others. Recently, Monish Sir was also invited as a panelist at the G20 Summit in Bali. Welcome, sir.
Hi, a very good evening, everyone. And thank you, IIDA, for having me here. I'm really happy to have this discussion of the role of design, AI, and parametrics in the practice, especially coming from Indian context. So, yeah, I really look forward to sharing my thoughts on this. So, thank you, Nishal, for the introduction. So I think as a practice, I mean, at Ant Studio as a practice, we guys are trying to do a lot of stuff. Okay, so but one thing that really I was just saying that what is it that we guys are trying to do at Ant? But that one thing that connects everything in principle is nature. When it comes to the different forms of work that we're doing, either whether it is artistic, whether it is architecture, or the research that we're trying to see, how do we bring it close or take inspiration from nature? And whether you call it biophilic, biomimicry, or nature-inspired design, and give it whatever name it doesn't really matter. But I try to, for the sake of this conversation, split it into three different, looking at it from three different lenses when we see nature. One is trying to mimic it from very much like trying to copy the form and the shape of it, which is very, I think, which is very straightforward and easy to do. Where here we are only looking at the artistic side of things. And the second thing is a slightly bit more complicated, wherein we try to mimic nature, but not in its form, but the process. And the third, I think, which I'll talk about very briefly from the perspective of the coolant work, we are doing very, very superficially in this conversation. And the third is an ecosystem. How do we mimic nature to build an ecosystem? This is the most challenging, probably, of all things. And so, yeah, this what encompasses our work at the studio. So I'll just go through some of the work that we guys are doing with parametric design. I'll not try get into detail of it, but only just talk about how AI, artificial intelligence, can change this particular domain of what we're looking at. So this is one of the first residences. I think while we have done a lot of work with parametric design, but at the scale of a residence, this was one of the first works that we have done. And these couple of them were renders that we have given to the client pretty long back, I think 6 or 7 years ago, which the client accepted, and then we went ahead and then built this. These are the built images, what you see on the screen right now. So I think while the design is something that is very subjective, and it is driven by taste, some people like it, some people don't like it, or it's very much subjective to taste and how the form came up and all of that. But today, what I really want to highlight is that what really went into it in terms of the effort, the tools that we looked at, and how much time did it actually take to deliver this. So in the designing process, I mean, while like I said, if we had to do the same thing again, probably we'll do it much faster. Probably this entire design in 2 to 3 weeks time, or even or less than with all the details and bringing it to this level of detailing. But back then, it took us like near about 4 to 5 months to optimize it, bring it to the level with all the parametric Rhino, Grasshopper, some bit of coding, optimization for the materials, and so on and so forth. It took us a long time to do. And but luckily in this case, the project, the client really liked it, and we went ahead and built it. What you see are the drone shots. And but this is another project which, again, this was a project that we have built for a client in Golf Links. We designed it for a client here. using similar principles of parametric design, did a lot of work on this project. Almost this entire design process took us about nothing less than 3 to 4 months because the client wanted a lot of iterations to be made to the design before, and but the sad part of this is after working for such rigorous exercise, the client was actually wanting to see what is really possible with if you want to go the experimental route. And then by finally we did not actually make this design. That's the sad side of things, which is what I wanted to highlight. And in the whole process, we lost near about 3 to 4 months of work effort that has actually gone into it. And ultimately, client wanted to make something really simple in the whole process. And that particular thing I really wanted to highlight, that after working for so long, this project did not really materialize. And so if you go ahead and these are some of the other cases that we have, projects that we have done using, again, standard way of Rhino modeling. This was a project proposed for a farmhouse in Kerala, and the standard way of developing it in 3D model tools and then renders and the standard way of doing things and so on and so forth. This is an ongoing project that we're working on. And in here again, the client was absolutely he really likes this the way of looking at futuristic designs. And we started the whole design by saying that for him the inspiration is the fictional characters. He wanted his house to be somewhat like that of Iron Man. And he said, okay, I want something really cool. There is a golf course right in front of it. He wanted the house to have the driveway reaching up to the first floor, the drop off, and then see the look at the golf course in the front, and so on and so forth. And he wanted the house something that is absolutely futuristic. I think while we're hoping that this still a work in, we're optimistic that this will hit the ground soon. But uh, but this again took a lot of time for us to reach a particular stage. So why I'm talking about the time factor is that quickly these things are changing. I'll talk about the essence of time and how it is changing with AI in the next part of the presentation. But this is some other work where we are using similar means terracotta to do parametric design, so that a simple material like even terracotta can actually fit into the whole concept of using parametric design tools and technology and so on. And this is another project that we have proposed for a commercial project uh, in Raipur, wherein with exposed brick we want to do something that is purely parametric, artistic, and the whole idea behind this project is also that while I think the form is something that it's very perceptive and one can like dislike, but the whole idea behind this is that typically commercial complexes are covered with glass facades. So we said, okay, what if we reduce the amount of glass so that the direct radiation into the building is getting reduced, but at the same time deliver something that is really what you can say with brick, something that's very modern and contemporary and also fluidic, introducing these parametric tools. So yeah, this has been our design language, I think, in almost all the projects, you name it. I think this is a standard design process wherein we try to combine these tools and bring the best using natural materials in the process, and so on. And this was another proposal, but like in this particular case, this project again, we worked quite a lot of time on this, but then it did not materialize taking forward. So what is so so what is changing? I think that is the biggest question that we keep asking. Like we could have saved a lot of time in the whole overall process, because I think while the the new emerging parametric tools, I think, which we all talk about right now, are helping us imagine stuff like never before. And architecture is changing because we are now able to go closer to imagination. So whatever we can imagine, we can take it out on the screen, and we can take it out of the screen, and we can also make it in real with the help of all the modern fabrication tools, computational technology. And we have now in India, it's not yet there, but I have done my the PG diploma in robotic fabrication. I think pretty soon even robots will start making a lot of noise in the construction industry, where you can make anything and everything, which is absolutely possible. So the whole question remains as to first of all, like, are we ready for that? Like, as in Indian context, especially, the one question that keeps popping is, does it fit our context? And does it fit really, like, what we are doing? And does it take a lot of the jobs? And this a lot of questions around that. That's a much larger conversation. I would be more than happy to discuss those in the Q&A. But in the overall presentation, I'd like to touch more on the technological part, but not on the how it fits in the Indian context and so on. But yeah, like I said, all of these things are possible. But what's happening with now AI is that these things have changed drastically. The whole conversation of design and what we're talking about to the clients has changed the complete thing, and we are trying to right now explore it at a very you can say that at different levels in the design, which I'll talk about in the next part of the presentation. Very quickly, I mean, I'll also touch upon another aspect of our practice, which is this adapting traditional building envelope cooling in buildings. So how we can actually use, India is a huge nation with diverse ethnicities, climate, fabrics, and all of that. And then with the help with globalization, like what's happening is we are making all buildings alike in the entire country. So we are saying with the help of technology and all natural materials, can we combine these two things to make adaptive building facades that fit different climatic conditions. So this particular project, I mean, I only want to take one aspect of it, which is probably relevant to this conversation, which is how numbers and parametric tools play a role in this. So I'll skip through the basic, the concept of what is passive cooling and all of that, but rather stick to the biomimicry part, which is like, what if the building envelopes start behaving like a foliage of a tree? What we mean by this is that the moment you walk under a tree, there is an instant drop in temperature. You see that there is a, even if it is beyond 40-45 degrees, you will notice an instant drop in the temperature the moment you walk under a tree, which is with a simple process called evapotranspiration. And so we are saying that what can we try and replicate that process in the building envelopes, the whole thing, so that people who are residing inside can benefit from this evapotranspiration, the cooling, natural cooling internally. So what if building envelopes start behaving like foliage? Because on a larger scale, what the trees also do is, apart from shading, I mean, there is the magical, I think, creation of God, because it's not just about the shading and what, I mean, it provides us food, the wood, and more importantly, trees are very effective in maintaining the carbon dioxide in the environment, which is what is actually what we call as atmosphere. The balance is created by the trees. And all in all, at a larger scale, trees are the biggest contributor to maintaining seasons, which recently we have seen how seasons are being disrupted with climate change, and how, because seasons are designed in such a manner that, you have summers, and then we have this monsoons and the winters, and cycle goes on. The moment it disturbs, even what we have seen very briefly, what can happen to the whole world. And especially this year has been a huge slap on the face for all of us, saying that, we should be very careful about how we go about intervening things, especially from this regard. So yeah, like, but that's aside, like, so we are saying, what if building envelopes learn a lot from the trees, and the cooling can be provided. So we came up with something called as aerofoils. And so wherein the building envelopes are designed in terracotta, like this aerofoils, what you see on the right hand side. So the water is retained inside this, and as the air passes through this, it tries to mimic a leaf. Similar to the leaf, as the water, there is evapotranspiration that happens from the surface, creates cooling. So this is some of the work that is ongoing right now, where which we're working with terracotta, wherein building envelopes can both shade and also cool at the same time. uh, and this can be done in different orientations. You can set it with the spacing so that you get the right kind of daylighting inside. Everything can be regulated. You can set the angles and so on and so forth. So this is what you see on the left, is the prototype that we have made for this. So we have some projects that we're building right now with this concept, and yeah, how it can be adapted onto buildings. Some other examples of the same thing. uh, and to see in this particular case, the parametrics are being used in a different manner altogether. But here it's not purely about the form, it's more about the performance. So we're using a lot of this energy modeling tools, working with some of the brilliant minds in the country, who are working on energy optimization, energy modeling for the buildings, to evaluate the overall performance of this, and how we can keep constantly improvising this setup. And there's a leprosy clinic that is under construction right now, what we are building, and some other projects that are happening. There's a project in Hyderabad that's under construction. There's a fully passive house, and a very futuristic parametric house coming up in Hyderabad, using all natural materials and exposed brick, and also this. But the form is, like I said, very what do you say, experimental and free flowing. So yeah, that's about this work. I'll skip through this particular part of the presentation and stick to the next part, which is artificial intelligence. So any questions so far? Anything, Ishal? Should I continue? Yes. So, like, what's happening with artificial intelligence is that this is something that we must have seen or heard recently, that the possibilities of what AI can do, especially in the construction design industry, and it has taken us by a storm. And AI has really exploded in the last 1 year, not just in architecture and design, but also in many different fields. And there are a lot of possibilities that we are seeing right now. So I'll talk about it. I mean, even in our practice, we are starting to see this, the implications, and I mean, it's both fascinating and scary at the same time. So this is my first initial, like very long back, I would say almost 10, 11 months before, I presented this to a client last year in December or November, and then said that, okay, hey, listen, what if we make this? We are working on a school for a client, and we said, we make the classrooms and everything like cacti, and they look really cool, and it's a kids school, and I mean, if you look at the overall project, you'll understand why this will fit in. It's absolutely a free flowing, very organic, and what do you say, very fluid, the whole spaces and everything, the way we design. And client saw this, and instantly I said, yeah, let's do it. And the fun part is that I haven't told the client till then that this is not something that we have generated using 3D modeling tools and renders, but it is generated using AI. And that I told him after he said yes. And to my surprise, he liked it even better. He's like, "Oh wow, that's amazing! I never heard of this before." And I told him, "Yeah, probably nobody done it in India. So would you like to go for it?" He's like, "Yes, let's do it." So then that's when it struck me that very quickly, like the dynamics in the construction industry are changing. Now people are excited about it, and the people are scared about it, because what will happen to the architecture jobs and so on and so forth. What is the role of a designer in design? And these kind of questions keep cropping in. But the point is that we are looking at a changing canvas in the design industry. And so he said, okay, why don't I really like this idea, why not, let's go for this. And so then we started exploring about, while we are still, when it comes to design, very romantic, we try to want it to be that old school method of sketching first and designing and so on. So we wanted to break down the relevance of AI in the design process at different levels. So I put this presentation in how we use this AI in different stages of a design process. And I'll be more than happy to discuss each of those even one-on-one at a later stage. So like earlier, what used to happen is that when we present any client anything to any project that we come across, the first thing we as a practice, what we try and do, we still write narratives. We imagine the spaces. I personally like to imagine, and we have the charades in the studio, wherein we talk about we debate and discuss what's the kind of experience that we are creating. And this is mostly in narratives we write, and then we take it to sketching, and then we take it to 3D forms and so on and so forth. But now here, the process is slightly different. We still wrote these narratives for ourselves, imagining the spaces. And then we said, okay, what if we give it to AI? This was a landscape project that we are doing. And instead of the task that we set for ourselves is, instead of trying to use Pinterest for mood boards and images, trying to show the experience for the client, we said, okay, let's do one thing. We use AI and AI generated images as the mood board. Let's not use any single Pinterest image. And what if we create the experience and we write the experience and we use it? That's what we did. Now, what you see on the screen is the first version of AI, Midjourney 1, and very old. That's the reason why these images are pretty raw. And you will see how it is changing right now. You can see that these images are not as detailed and architecturally, beautiful what we see right now. And but the narrative. So it's also nice to see how AI is picking up really quick. These are still sketchy. So in the presentation, we also combined it with traditional sketches for the client, added these natural sketches which are handmade, and we made this presentation. I'm showing you exactly how we presented to the client, and combined it with these images of the sketches and images and all that. and and yeah, so what we show the client is this master plan with this. I would have asked this question had it been a live session, that what would have been the response of the client looking at this. But I did ask that to the client, saying that what do you think of the whole thing. To our surprise, he did not even realize that all these images are actually AI generated, which totally expected. And it did not even matter to him. What mattered is that, oh yeah, okay, cool, this is how it is going to look. All right. So ultimately, what mattered to him is this plan, which is AutoCAD, Photoshop generated, which is actually, this is not AI generated. This is something that we have designed. And then we looked at the design, and then, so for him, for the client, it did not really matter whether what it was made on and what is it that, whether what kind of tools that we're using, as long as he's getting the end result. So yeah, I think, so we realized that, yes, I think there is a strong potential for AI to keep experimenting and taking it forward, because uh, things are being, instead of me spending, the reason why I had gone through all the presentations in the beginning, talking about time as a factor in the parametric tools, is that now these things happened in 2 days. We didn't have to create a detailed 3D model for this, show it to the render, then waiting for him to say whether yes or no for that. This presentation was done, and the maximum amount of time that we took is, in fact, to make this Photoshop plan render and get it the way we wanted. And other than that, everything was done in a matter of days, and we managed to pitch it to the client in less than 10 days. Now, that's where things are. That's the reason why I had to use my initial works to talk about how the changing things are happening. Now, the second thing from artificial intelligence is augmented intelligence, wherein we are saying that, it is a way of working together in partnership with this thing. So when we are saying, okay, we do half the work, and let AI do half the work. This is the model that I think we enjoy the most in the studio right now, because there's a lot of things that AI still can't do, which is, at the level of resolution of the plan, and trying to get the right kind of stuff which the client wants. And most of the time, whatever images these things are generated, they're not actually what the project demands. It is still, we do not have the control. While I think there's a lot of control that is possible now, which was not possible even just a few weeks back. That's how AI is growing. But still, you need a little bit of. I think this is what we realize is the best process: augmented intelligence. So wherein we are saying that we first design, and we use AI to tweak our designs and make changes. So this is the same school which I initially presented with the cacti. This is done using Rhino and Grasshopper, this modeling, which is I would call as standard process right now. And then we came up with these renders, which are again Lumion generated, not AI. For the client, you can see that on the side we use this stone, which is like a slate, and then we had this uh, mosaic tiles on the top, and exposed break, and so on and so forth. So we pitched it to the client, and the client's response was that, hey, I really like it, but the only thing is, we are doing a school. So when you're doing a school, we want the finishes to be really soft, and so that the kids don't hurt themselves when they're playing, and so on and so forth. Like, these are the kind of comments we received. So we said, okay, so instead of trying to now regenerate these renders and everything in the software, we wanted to do it really quick and discuss it with the client instantly. So we said, okay, we want to give this image as a prompt to AI, and ask what AI can do and give us. So this is what AIG gave us as an options to the client, saying that, okay, you want something soft with the flowers and everything. You can see while it is not exactly the design that we gave, but it gave us options wherein talking about how we can transform the design using softer finishes, softer materials, which are kid friendly. And on the right, you can see this the roof with this garden, and then the facade being in wood. I think while this is might not be possible practically, but still, now these are some of the images that the AI gave, which are softer. This one you can see that rammed earth or lime plastered finish, which is much more softer than what you originally saw here. And yeah, and we managed to have a conversation with the client really quick, without going through the hassle of again sitting on the screen and developing these for at least like a couple of weeks of work. We managed to cut it short, and then show this instant result, have conversations, and then take it ahead. So yeah, that's how the the uh, this AI, this augmented intelligence, is actually helping us in a workflow. Now, I would like to end this. While I think there are many possibilities that are there, one thing I would like to emphasize in is, especially in our practice, I think a lot of people are very much concerned about the role of AI and what AI can do, and whether we will still have our jobs few years down the line. Is design what it is? Who owns the ownership for the design? If AI is designing, do we still own There are a lot of questions that are still there that are need to be answered, which we do not have answers to. We can debate, but I don't think anybody has a collective answer for that. But one thing is for sure, that I think what we're looking at, even we're talking about AI and looking at it, it is still at the tip of the iceberg. And we as a practice, I think there are a lot of things that we guys can actually do better. We all, at most of the studios and the firms and big companies and small companies, individuals working, we all work in bubbles, and we work in our own means, except few studios combining and doing something. I don't see we doing a lot of stuff together. So when you compare this with other fields in the industry, whether it is automobile, IT, technology, and whether I mean, you name any other field which uses technology, there is a lot of collective intelligence, sharing of patents, data, and all of that that happens across cross collaborations that happen, which benefit the industry largely. I think in architecture, that is not what's happening. We still work at a very isolated level, and then so more than this images and everything that we're talking about with the help of AI, and where everything is data driven. Now in the future, you will see that everything that we do will be forming a data, which currently is restricted to individuals or practices. But I believe that the real essence of this going forward will be not in what do you say, not just in this fancy selective images that are being generated by Midjourney. The real potential lies in collective intelligence, where we actually try to bring all the data, skills, and everything together to solve much larger issues. For instance, when you talk about climate change, society issues, and the communities, that how design can benefit. Like there are many other relevant issues that the countries and the industry is facing right now, and resource depletion, data about the sites that what this one, and how climate is actually making an impact, and more importantly, climate driven design, environmental sciences. So all of these things use a lot of data. I believe that once we bring in all of these things together, that's where the real potential of AI would probably be, not just in images. Yeah, I think with this I would like to conclude my presentation. I look forward to hearing questions from you guys. Thank you.